It's baffled scholars for 2 millennia. It is a puzzle made of multi-dimensional elements, an enigma with roots that reach back to the dawning of time, perhaps before. Daniel explained part of it. Ezekiel and Isaiah had glimpses into it. John saw it all for the time of the end. That time is now. Join Derek and Sharon Gilbert on a journey that spans the course of history, from Eden to Mount Hermon, from Hermon to Babel, from Babel to Rome, from Rome to the cross, and from there to us. Biblical prophecy is coming true before your eyes, and to understand it, you must discern the times both then and now. It's time to unravel the threads of this all-encompassing prophetic paradox. It's time to unravel Revelation.
Welcome to Unraveling Revelation. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I am Sharon Gilbert. I get to say that every week. I got to tell you, I love you. You're stinking cute. Just
So
cute.
are you. Love that hat.
Aw, thanks. Well, as you know, I wear this hat because my eyes are so photosensitive. But that day is coming well, I pray it's coming so that I won't need it anymore. But I got hats. So there you go. And in fact, I've got hats that say GHTV on them.
Ooh, yeah.
So,
Well,
you know, or PID
PID
radio.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a GHTV one too. So, and Armored Sheep.
Sharon's new podcast, The Armored Sheep, which you can find through our free app. You can download. See the segue there?
I know. Very well
You
done.
can download that to your smartphone or tablet, iOS, Android, Amazon, Kindle Fire, or put it directly on the big screen. We've got apps for smart TVs as well and set-top boxes, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV. Check the App Store or just go to gilberthouse.org/app. We've got links to the app stores there for whatever platform you're trying to download to.
Oh yeah, well you're there.
Yeah, we've been called the OGs of Christian podcasting.
The old Gilberts.
Yeah, because we had to look that up. We didn't know what that meant. I guess it means original gangster, which I guess that's a compliment. I don't know.
But yeah, we've been at this a long time. But while you're at gilberthouse.org, go to /store, and there are links there to a lot of ways to enjoy and buy our content. Enjoy. If you enjoy it, thank you very much. But we no longer ship physical products from the barn. We are now doing everything linking to Amazon and to our streaming website, but also to Light Hive Creations, where you can get mugs and hats, and you can get
there we go, the cute little armored sheep. Yeah.
T-shirt.
Yeah. Well, again, gilberthouse.org/store, our streaming video site /video. And anyway, that just concessions due to age. We're just not, able to carry those boxes like we used to.
We're going to Israel, though, even though you have your staff.
Well, as I said last week, I figure if Moses can lean on a staff for 40 years in the desert, I can probably do it for a couple of weeks. But we're praying for healing. We're just figuring out what's going on with that. And your prayers very much appreciated. So definitely thank you for that. Well, last week we started, we talked about Avi Lipkin, our good friend, who produces a weekly views of analysis of what's happening in the news there in the Middle East. And this is a way for him to communicate with people here in the U.S. He's been visiting churches and speaking at churches and prophecy conferences. That's where he first heard him, by the way, our good friends at Prophecy Watchers. Gary Stearman, Mondo Gonzalez, Bob Ulrich have had Avi as a regular speaker at their conferences regularly. It's where we first met his son Aaron, who is the CEO of the tour company that we used to go to Israel. And Avi is of the opinion that what's going on right now with the situation in Gaza, that war essentially all but over. I remember when the war began, October 7th, I've got an app on my mobile devices that alerts whenever there's incoming missiles and rockets. And between the north and the south, with Gaza and Hezbollah in the north, it was going off multiple times, dozens of times per day as those rockets were incoming. Well, but it has been weeks, if not a couple of months now, since that app since there's been a single alert that's come in on that little app.
The one thing that we still see happening is Yemen is still launching things, and they're still trying to trouble those ships that are going
in the Red
through
Sea,
the
right?
Strait.
Yeah, but even then, it's been quite some time. It's not like it was previously, and I think in part because Hamas's capacity, Hezbollah's capacities have been degraded. Their top leadership has been decapitated, to use a very blunt word. in both the south and the north. And the fact that the fall of Syria, I think, has really had a lot to do with this. And I think that was the major factor that Avi was pointing to as changing the landscape there. Now, the Turks have been very much behind what happened. And this occurred back in December. You might remember suddenly the rebels have been sort of, we assumed, bottled up in the northwest of Syria in the span of just, it seemed like less than 2 weeks. Swooped down, took Damascus. Bashar al-Assad fled the country. He's now living in Russia. There were some reports that he may have been poisoned. He took ill back in January and questioned about how that exactly happened. Anyway, now Benjamin Netanyahu has said that they're not going to allow this group that took Damascus, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is Al-Qaeda, but by a different name.
Just call it HTS.
HTS. Al-Qaeda in suits. They're trying to present a much friendlier face, not so overtly Muslim. They're wearing suits so they can look more diplomatic, more part of the global community, and
so it's a Sharia-ish.
Sharia light. At least that's what they're trying to present to the world. Just bear in mind, taqiyya, the Islamic concept that Muslims can lie to non-Muslims if it's in the service of Allah.
Which everything they do, they believe in.
Take what they say with a grain of salt. So Netanyahu has said, you're not coming south of Damascus. No armed forces south of Damascus, which means Israel has now declared that the predominantly Druze regions, now these are Arabs, but they're not Muslim, in the south of Syria are now under Israeli protection, which some of those Druze communities have asked for. Some of the Druze leadership saying, no, we don't want it, we don't want you, but others saying, look, we need Israel to protect us from HTS. Developments as we're recording this within the last just few days. There is a council of militia, Druze militia, that have basically said we are setting up our own defense forces to protect us, but we welcome Israel's protection as well. Does this mean that Israel is fulfilling the land promise given to Abraham to extend Israel's borders all the way to the Euphrates River? Don't know. Could be. But how will the world respond to this? Now, certainly when Netanyahu made that statement just a couple of weeks ago, as you're watching this, the world said, oh, no, this is Netanyahu trying to claim territory. He's trying to annex part of Syria. Okay, but...
Now understand, when we say the world, this is mainly the Western press.
Right, which doesn't like Netanyahu any more than they like Donald Trump. No, he's trying to divide Syria. Well, the fact is, as we've discussed on a previous program here, Syria is already divided. The Kurds already occupy and control pretty much everything east of the Euphrates River, in large part because of American assistance, because we've got still boots on the ground. Now, President Trump has said he's going to take our soldiers out, which don't know if he's going to do that. I suspect that Prime Minister Netanyahu would prefer that we keep American soldiers on the ground in Syria?
Yeah, I think so, but we've also been funneling U.S. taxpayer money through USAID into terrorist organizations through a whole lot of doors. So it doesn't look like a direct gift, but it is.
And that's all been cut off, thanks.
I know.
Yeah, 90% of USAID's programming funds have now ceased. It was actually kind of funny because Hungary's Prime Minister Orban said that all of these organizations, these non-government organizations, NGOs, have gone running to Brussels to beg the European Union for money because now suddenly the American government has said, we're not paying for this anymore. But last week you mentioned something I think is really interesting and worth coming back to, and that is the phrase, hook into your jaws. And that's a reference to Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, the war of Gog and Magog.
Do you have that up where you can read it?
I do. Ezekiel chapter 38, the word of Yahweh, that's L-O-R-D in all caps. The word of Yahweh came to me, son of man. In that context, the Old Testament context, that means human. Okay? Hey, human, come here. Son of man, set your face toward Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him and say, thus says the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn you about and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you out, and all your army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed in full armor, a great host, all of them with buckler and shield, wielding swords. Persia, Cush, and Put are with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his hordes, Beth Togarmah from the uttermost parts of the north, with all his hordes, many peoples are with you. So, what are the hooks in the jaws?
Well, first of all, on the surface, this sounds like a group of
specific nations,
humans.
Right? Yes.
Yeah, that are, and it probably does involve humans. But
Right,
I think,
right.
and you and I think the same, that Gog is a spirit entity.
Right.
When it says prince or chief prince, that oftentimes refers to a fallen angel
Right.
in this case.
Yeah, and I know that there are those who have argued, and it's almost become like standard belief that Magog, the land of Magog, is Russia, because it's, when you draw a line north from Jerusalem, you get to Russia. That's as uttermost north as you can get. We've talked about that on a previous
Rosh
program.
doesn't mean Russia.
No, the phrase, Rosh, I looked it up, so I knew how to pronounce it. Rosh with the rolled R.
Oh, very good.
In Hebrew means...
Avi would be very proud.
He would, yes, and Yeshai.
Oh, very.
One of our wonderful tour guides there in Israel. Rosh is translated as chief, but there are those that translate Gog of the land of Magog, prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. And then Meshech is interpreted as Moscow, Tubal as Tobolsk. This is what's called folk etymology, meaning because those words sound kind of alike, it must be the same. There's a man named Daniel Block who's written probably the definitive commentary on the book of Ezekiel. And he says, look, this is not what that word means. The word always means chief or head, as in Rosh Hashanah, meaning the head of the year, New Year. So every time that word Rosh is used in the Old Testament, except for here, everybody agrees, it means chief or head. But here, in large measure because of the Scofield Study Bible, Cyrus Scofield wrote, it was 1909 when it was first published, but especially after the Bolsheviks took Russia in 1917, because of the way the Russians had been persecuting Jews for 50, 60 years by that point.
Long time.
Yeah, that it was easy to see them and popular to see them as the enemy of the Jews and the enemies of Israel. So, okay, Rosh must mean Russia. But no, in the 6th century BC, what did this mean? When Ezekiel wrote this, what did it mean to his readers? That's the question. So the bottom line is, no, it just means chief prince of Meshech and Tubal.
Right. So you and I believe that Gog is a spirit entity.
The Old Testament conception of the Antichrist.
Of some kind. Yeah. Yes. But the Antichrist is human.
Right.
I know you're saying that, so I'm saying it for you.
The spirit that indwells the Antichrist.
Exactly.
Right.
So Gog, being a spirit, it would explain why you get a reprise of the Gog War at the end of
the 1,000 years.
Exactly.
Right.
Because that spirit hasn't yet been totally defeated. Well,
right.
what I find so interesting about the hook in the jaw imagery is Leviathan.
Yes, Leviathan, the seven-headed chaos monster that comes out of the sea. Yes. And we've argued elsewhere that we believe that Leviathan is that spirit, the beast that emerges from the sea in Revelation 13, which sounds like a chimeric being. Okay, it's a bear, it's a lion, it's a leopard, but that's how dragons were depicted in ancient Mesopotamia. Seriously.
Yeah.
So John's readers
would have known. Understood that.
They would have known. And there was a very ancient, and we're talking like thousands of years before John, this idea that a chaos, seven-headed chaos dragon had to be defeated and subdued by Baal, by Marduk, by Ninurta.
Whatever the storm god was.
Yeah, or some kind of a warrior god. Yeah, in some stories it was even Enlil or Anu. But the bottom line is chaos, seven-headed dragon, and that's exactly how John depicted it in the book of Revelation. So that's who we're looking at, the hook in the jaw. And there have been a lot of guesses as to what that might be. In fact, when they discovered the Leviathan gas field
Yes, I know.
in the eastern Mediterranean, that maybe this is it, but when you actually look at the expected trillions of cubic feet or billions, whatever it is, in that gas field, I looked it up once, compared to what Russia has, it's minuscule.
Yeah, it's
Russia would not go to war with Israel for that little bit of natural gas.
What if what we're seeing happen now, the Trump-Netanyahu plan to redraw the Middle East, that is the hook into the jaw to have Leviathan take a look and say, that's it. I see prophecy unfolding, and I'm going to come out. But hook in the jaw implies that it might not have happened unless the Lord did the following.
Yeah.
It's one of those, which is first, chicken or egg? The prophecy or the fulfillment?
Right.
Is it fulfilled because it was prophesied, or is it prophesied because it's going to be fulfilled? Or is it both?
Yeah, we get into, see, this is the conundrum for us because we are in linear time, which is not, God is not limited by the fact that he has to see,
God is
the beginning, the middle, and then the end.
Every when.
Exactly. Yeah, he sees it all at once and can manipulate all at once, which we cannot. For us, getting it
working it all together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we'll talk more about this and who all is involved in this war when those hooks go into the jaws when Unraveling Revelation continues.
God's creation is full of mysteries. What were the giants in the Scripture? Did dinosaurs roam the earth in the days of Noah? Are we alone in the universe? Join speakers L.A. Marzulli, Derek Gilbert, Michael Hoggard, Mac Dominic, Sharon Gilbert, and Micah Van Huss to explore the topics your Sunday school teacher didn't talk about at the Mysteries of the Bible Verse event in the greater Indianapolis area, June 13th and 14th.
We'd love to meet you. Here are a few of the places you can find Sharon and Derek Gilbert in the months ahead. The Aliens, AI, and the Antichrist Conference in Blue Eye, Missouri, April 10th through 12th. Mysteries of the Bible Verse Conference, June 13th and 14th in Indianapolis. The Go Therefore Conference, July 25th and 26th in Brookville, Ohio. The Remnant Rising Conference, August 22nd through 24th in Springfield, Missouri. For the latest information, go to gilberthouse.org/calendar.
Welcome back to Unraveling Revelation. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert, and normally we talk about our travels to Israel. Just go to gilberthouse.org/travel. If you want to go with us to Israel anytime, whether it's this October or next year or the year after that, all the information is there. We need to get back to hook in the jaw.
Yeah. First of all, let's just say this. Persia, just to identify the players here, Persia, Iran, that's pretty easy to understand. Cush would be Sudan and Ethiopia, neither of which are existential threats to Israel.
No, they're not pro-Israel by any
No, yeah, but it seems like, neither one is even really a functional state.
No, they're really not.
So, and the same with Put, which is Libya. Libya is no longer a functional state. So when you're seeing this today in the 21st century, it's hard to imagine how this could even be a threat to Israel. We'll explain that in a second. The northern group, Magog, Tubal, Meshech, Beth Togarmah, all of those in the 6th century BC. Gomer is not Germany. Gomer were the Cimmerians or Cimmerians who were in central Asia Minor, which is now Turkey. Yeah. All of them were located in Turkey. And the phrase uttermost parts of the north, Yarkate Tsafon, refers to Mount Tsafon. We see that same phrase in Isaiah chapter 14, where the rebel from Eden wants to establish his Mount of Assembly in the uttermost parts of the north, the sides of the north, the heights of the north. Some modern English translations even say the sides of Mount, or the slopes of Mount Tsafon.
Which happened to be the storm god's mountain,
right.
Baal's mountain, and Tsafon is also Typhon.
Right.
And the story goes that he burrowed underneath of it.
Right, and the channel of the Orontes River in Syria resulted. This was when Typhon was fighting Zeus, and Zeus subdued Typhon, the chaos monster. So yeah, there are connections there, but it was known in the ancient world as the place where Baal's palace was located. So that is located in Turkey, near Antakya, or ancient Antioch.
Sorry. By the way, explain who Baal is.
Baal, the storm god, was also Zeus by a different name, but also, according to Jesus in Matthew 12, beginning at verse 22, was Satan.
Satan.
He was accused of casting out demons by the power of Baal the prince, Beelzebul. Jesus says, if Satan cast out demons by his own power, how will Satan's kingdom stand?
Exactly. So this is where Satan gets involved.
Right. This is basically Satan's sacred mountain. His mountain is where Gog, the beast, the spirit of Antichrist, rallies these troops. But what Ezekiel was doing here, and again, this is Daniel Block, who wrote the commentary in the book of Ezekiel, said that these nations, you've got this group of nations who were all in the 6th century BC located in what is today Turkey. Then you've got Persia, which is the farthest nation to the east of Israel that Ezekiel's readers would have been familiar with. Cush, the furthest away nation to the south they would have been familiar with, and put the furthest away nation to the west that his readers would. In other words, what Ezekiel is saying is the whole world is coming against Israel in this war. And that is consistent with what we see in other end times prophecies. For example, in the book of Zechariah.
I think so too. I'm sorry.
Stumbling block to the nations. Make Jerusalem a stone, a heavy stone that will cause the nations to hurt all those who try to lift it.
Well, I think what Trump and Netanyahu are doing right now is very unpopular, as I said, with the Western press. But all the globalists are looking at this and saying, hold on, no, you don't understand. We have a plan, and you're messing up our plan.
Right.
And I think the globalists will somehow, because I think many globalists, whether they know it or not, are in league with fallen angels.
Yeah, because they are setting up the infrastructure for the future one world government that will be ruled, prophetically speaking, it will be ruled by Antichrist. So,
well, may I just jump in really quickly? Inanna, I've talked about her many, many times, and she is the Whore of Babylon, I believe. This entity that's very old, a fallen angel that pretends to be female, but she's sometimes male, and she has the ability to make you male or female, whatever you choose. And she's been in charge of this gender fluid, very hypersexualized, particularly in children, New World Order, helped along with Mercury, or whatever you want to call this, this entity that is in charge of the economy.
yeah, the rider on the black horse,
Exactly.
Hermes, Nabu to the Babylonians.
Exactly.
Yep.
Working together, the two of them have been setting up an economic and a spiritually wicked New World Order. And along comes Trump the first time. And he tried doing it, didn't quite understand how the swamp worked, and tried to get rid of it, but they kept him out. Along comes the election, he's out for 4 years. He used those 4 years, the Lord used him during those 4 years, and he came back in with a plan. He and Netanyahu are now upsetting that big-time apple cart that Inanna and Nabu/Mercury put together. They're really mad.
Yeah, and the rider on the red horse, War, which is Aries, Mars, Chemosh. Using that to try to stir things up. And I think you're right that the plan that Netanyahu and Trump are putting together, which is to redraw the map, to try to change the face of the game board, as though they're playing a game of Risk, and they're trying to finally change the way things have been aligned on that board for 100 years. As I've researched that region and how Israel came to be in 1948, you see that from the time of the founding of the League of Nations in 1919, where Article 22 decreed that there would be a national home for the Jews in Palestine, which was originally to include all of what is now Jordan as well. By the time the charter was adopted in 1920, the area to the east had already been sliced off. So, okay, we're going to reduce what we're promising to the Jews by 77%. soon began to be whittled away as the Arabs refused to accept it, refused to accept it, refused to accept it. In 1936, the Brits sat down with the Woodhead Commission to try to negotiate a two-state solution. So they've been negotiating a two-state solution since 1936 at least.
Long time.
So finally, Trump comes along and says, forget it, we're going to flip over the game board. We'll own Gaza, we'll rebuild it. And suddenly now there are changes being made. But this is something I said, and I've been saying since October 7th, I could not conceive of anything that would serve as the hooks in the jaws to pull the world to go to war against Israel until we saw Israel's response to what happened on October 7th, when Israel has, and you still see this in the way the press is covering this, look at all of the poor children of Gaza who have fallen victim to the Israeli occupiers. Well, yeah, but there were 1,200 people who died on October 7th because Hamas attacked. But we are seeing the world lining up against Israel saying, you're going to stop or we're going to make you stop. Now, that's not likely to happen as long as Donald Trump is in office, but he's not going to be in office for, a little over 3 more years now.
Exactly, and that's what Avi Lipkin is saying. He thinks within the next 3 years that the next phase, the next war, and if that is what happens, I think that it could be the whole world comes against Israel.
Exactly, and again, that's what we see in the apocalyptic prophecies, especially in the book of Zechariah. Zechariah 12, Zechariah 14, it's pretty clear that it's the whole world has come against Israel. And that will happen, whether it's 3 years down the line or 100 years down the line. We don't know. We don't know, but a day is coming.
Close to that arrival of Apophis in 2029.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we don't set dates. We're just trying to look and discern where we are. Is Donald Trump the Antichrist? Yes, we know there are some who are trying to flatter him and go over the top. It's like, look, we've put you on this coin along with Cyrus the Great of Persia. We've got this picture of you in a golden statue. Like, okay, we'll see what happens. Let's not get too panicked about it. Let's keep our eyes, as Jesus said, let's look up because our redemption is drawing near.
Exactly.
So the hooks in the jaws, I think what we're seeing now could be that, but we won't know until we're probably looking at this in hindsight.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it may well be that as it happens, that we'll go, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
How did we miss that?
Exactly. But certainly we are living in a time now where we see what could be the hook in the jaw that draws the world, not just Gog of Magog, but the whole world to go to war against Israel. Again, as long as Donald Trump or somebody who believes as he does is in the Oval Office, probably not, but who knows?
Boy.
Yeah, again, we will only know for sure when we're seeing it with hindsight. But until that day, we pray, come quickly, Lord Jesus, even so come.
We do.
And
indeed.
we thank you for watching. This is Unraveling Revelation.
Unraveling Revelation is a viewer-supported outreach of Gilbert House Ministries. Follow us online at unravelingrevelation.tv and gilberthouse.org. Contact us through our websites or drop us a line at P.O. Box 78, Crane, Missouri 65633.